Welcome, everyone. We're pleased again to have Mark Anthony Lord taking us on a recovery spirituality journey. So I'll let you get started.
Thank you, Tammy. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here or listening to this after the recording, whichever it is. I am Mark Anthony Lord. That's my real name, by the way. I'm also a minister, so sometimes it's odd to put Reverend Mark Anthony Lord in front of that, but that's my path and sticking to it. Come a long way from my beginning days as being an addict, so I'm happy to be of service here tonight. As Tammy mentioned, our focus tonight is around spirituality and recovery. And my focus is to help you be able to have a conversation around this thing called higher power, this thing called spirituality, and how does it work for you, and how can it enhance your recovery? That's the most important thing. I am of the belief that addiction is a spiritual disease, and therefore the solution is a spiritual answer. So that's how I approach it. People approach it in different ways, but that's the conversation we're going to have tonight. So my bird is chirping, so if she bothers us too much, I can cover her up. Are you hearing her?
I am, but it's a calming noise, and I mute because I've got airplanes. I'm traveling, so there's airplane noise. But okay. The birds sound like I'm, soothing. So far.
Well, wave to me if you want me to cover her, because she can get quite chatty. All right, so each time we meet, we do begin with a mindfulness practice, a meditation practice. So we're going to do that now. If it's possible for you to join me, if you're not driving or if you're not in a public area, then that would be awesome. If not, perhaps, if you're not able, perhaps you can just focus on your breath and just kind of invite yourself to follow my guidance without closing your eyes, whatever's easiest for you. There's no wrong way to do it. So I'm going to begin by closing my eyes and connecting with my breath. And I'm going to invite you to breathe in on the count of 4, hold the breath for the count of 4, and exhale to the count of 4. Breathing in through your nose, breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3. Blow it out 4. Inhale through your nose 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it 1, 2, 3, 4. Blow it out. Relax the body 3, 4. A third time, breathe in 1, nice and big, deep 2, 3, 4. Hold it 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, blow it out. And allow your breathing to return to its natural rhythm, but focus your attention on the tip of the nose, where the breath enters, right at the tip of the nose. Feel the sensation of the breath coming in and out. Keep your attention right there. Focus, focus, focus. We're going to do this for a couple minutes. So just breathe and focus on the sensation. If your mind wanders and you notice it, release the thought, return to the sensation. Nice and slow inhale and exhale. Focus on the sensation of it entering and at the nostrils, at the tip of the nose. Just a little while longer, release the thought, focus on the sensation. And I invite you to take a moment to place your attention on your heart and ask your heart what its intention might be for you tonight, or when you're listening to this webinar. What is the intention? Maybe to be open, maybe to be present, to experience a little self-love. Maybe the intention is to grow or learn. And if there's no intention that rises up, that's completely fine, because your willingness to be here, there's an intention right inside of that. But if there is one, welcome it. And notice that you just took a moment to listen to your inner wisdom, to your heart. That's pretty cool. Before we come out of this connected space, meditative space, I'm going to say the Serenity Prayer. I'm going to invite you to join me if you can, or think it, or whatever works for you, or I'll say it for us as we begin our time together by saying, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Very good. And open your eyes and bring your attention back into this webinar, whatever's comfortable for you. I like that kind of meditation because it invites us to really focus on a sensation. The sensation of the air right here on the nose can be a focal point, and it can actually help the mind calm. It gets kind of just training the mind to have a focal point. And, very common for the mind to wander during that, but that's okay, because we're in the training process of it, not in the perfection process of it. So if you feel like your mind is wandering, or you want to give a little bit of mindfulness or meditation practice a go, that's a nice way to do it, just to close your eyes and focus on the sensation. And I've had some really nice, calming experiences from doing that. So that's an invitation to you. Tonight, I want to focus on the Serenity Prayer. These first webinars in the beginning of the year are going to cover some basic spiritual components. Always interested in what you want to focus on. So if you ever want to just put in the chat, hey, this is what I'm curious about, if it's a larger conversation, certainly happy to put that in the lineup in the coming weeks. You can be great if you help us kind of formulate this time together around spirituality. I'll certainly come up with lots of good ideas because I enjoy it, but it's always nice to also hear what you would like to talk about, or where you might be grappling around this aspect of your recovery. So one of my favorite exercises to do, I did one of my favorites last week, so I hope you'll go back and listen to that webinar, focused on getting rid of God and getting rid of the old God and creating a new higher power. I love that exercise. And today, it's a more simple exercise, but I find it to be a very very enlightening one, and it's around dissecting the Serenity Prayer. And Tammy, you had mentioned you've done that before in your recovery path. And I think it's a wonderful way to get related to it so that when you say it, if you say it in meetings or if you say it on your own, taking the time to go word by word really helps us have a deeper experience and relationship to the prayer when we do it. So I'm going to go, and if you can grab a journal or pen and paper of some kind, or if you're on your computer and you just want to take some notes, it's always helpful. And of course, if you're watching this later, you can pause the webinar at any time and be as thoughtful as you want to be during the process. But tonight, I'm going to give you a few minutes, stretches of time to contemplate and do the experience. And then again, if you want to do it more after the webinar or while you're listening, you can do it as long as you like. So we're going to begin with the very first word, which is God. So we take that word, and I invite you to write that word in the upper corner, kind of like I imagine on a piece of paper, you just write, God, grant me the serenity. Like I'll just kind of go down the column, and I'll tell you the sections that I like to do on this one. So beginning with the word God, I invite you to write down other words that it means to you, so that when you say the word, it just expands inside of you. And I think of things like wisdom. Wisdom is a wonderful word for God, especially when I'm saying the Serenity Prayer. I like the word love. A lot of people like the word love because it in its highest vibration of the word, it's a great word. Power, higher power is a synonymous word with the word God for many people. Divine intelligence, source, energy, universe. These are all words that all kind of circle around the same thing, but it's important for you to pick the one that really feels the deepest and the most fulfilling to you. I happen to like the word God, but for me, the word God means all those things. Like it's immediately, when I say God, it means love, it means wisdom, it means connection, which I talked a lot about last week. Connection is such an important thing for me as an addict, because disconnection is when I'm in trouble. So connection, spirit, love, compassion, peace. These are beautiful words. They're spiritual words. And to me, they're all synonymous with God. So feel free to make a list of words next to that word when you say God, right? Love, wisdom, peace, power, source, whatever, as many as you'd like, to create an expanded experience of what that word is. So I'll give you a few moments to think about that. And by the way, if you want to write anything in the chat of words that come up for you, that'd be wonderful if you kind of want to participate. If I didn't mention, or a word that you've got that I didn't mention for God, just put it in the chat. And then we can help each other expand our vocabulary. I'll give you a few moments on this one. Nice. Comforter, care, great words. Really, really good words. Comforter is a really good word. Thank you for sharing that. And then we're going to move to the next word, which is grant. Grant. And so when I think of the word grant, it has the energy of asking. There's an openness required. When I say grant me entrance, grant me permission, really it's sort of saying give to me. It's a nice word. I don't use it often. I don't say, hey, grant me entrance. But in the prayer, if I just break it down, it's a moment of asking. And if I'm going to ask, that means I'm open, right? You're not going to ask if you're not open. Sometimes I've said this, run to do prayer, starting it not feeling open, but even the process of saying the word, God grant, God grant, God give me, God open, right? It's more about the asking opens me to come out of, maybe I'm trapped in whatever I'm trapped in, the disease, the fear, or craving, a negative thought, to just say, God grant, to me kind of starts to massage that open. So next to the word grant, you just might want to write the word give or open to receive. I'm open to receive when I ask someone to grant me something. And the next word doesn't take a lot of dissection, but it's an important word, because very often as an addict, I'm focused on other people, what they're doing, what they're saying, what they're not doing, what they're not saying. And this says, God grant me. And it deserves pause. It deserves pause when you say it, because God grant me, when I do the prayer, it's pulling me back into myself. You know, pretty much when the day starts, we can find ourselves starting to get outside of ourselves with worries or fears or stresses of the day, or the addict's got some things to say to me about such and such, or maybe there's a resentment or a insecurity that's churning inside of me. And those things tend to pull me out. What will so-and-so think? What, you know, I mean, it's all outside myself. So God grant me, not the other person, not what anybody else is doing. God grant me. And then the first thing that the prayer asks for is serenity. So what's another word for serenity? I'm going to see if I can get some participation here, if anyone's interested in playing. What might be another word for serenity in your mind?
You can use the chat feature to type in some comments.
Yeah, and you don't have to. No one has to. I'm just going to keep inviting you to do that. What would the word serenity mean? Oh, nice. Thank you. Peace, calm. Exactly. It really is. That's another word for serenity. God, give me peace. Grant me serenity. Now, this prayer is already so cool. It's so perfectly lined up, because the first thing it's saying that I need is I need some calm. I can't see things correctly. I'm not going to get reconnected to myself or to my higher power in a chaotic mind. If I'm feeling upset, I become unable to see my part or to see other parts or to see what's mine to do. So the very first request of this prayer is to say, hey, I got to begin with a peaceful mind. I have got to get myself calm before I move forward. God, help me be calm first. Like a calm lake is just much more receptive, much easier to get across, much easier to see reflections in. And that's the idea of the mind. The mind in a calmer, peaceful state helps us to really be able to shift. And the prayer is an asking for us to see something, to be something different. And so, no, again, brings us back to meditation. Why do I meditate? Because I need to keep establishing a peaceful, serene mindset to the best of my ability, because that's when I'm available to hear my higher power. That's when I'm available to pause and be more patient with myself and with other people. When I'm triggered, I'm in reaction, right? When I'm in a craving, I am not centered. I'm not peaceful. But even though I'm in that stress, or I'm in that chaotic mind, or I'm in some kind of a craving, all I have to do is begin asking. I remember Tammy and I talked about this last week about this prayer. And I said, there were times when I would just do this prayer like a mantra over and over and over for 10, 15 minutes. And I remember I lived in LA, and I'd be driving on the 405, which is just a big parking lot. So I had plenty of time to just do it over and over and over and over. And they get to a point where I would go, and I would feel a bit of a result from the prayer. I'd feel a little bit calmer from doing it. So you can be whatever state mind is my point. Just begin the prayer and it will start doing its work. And it begins by asking for peace. So God, higher power, wisdom, love, grant me, open me up to have a peaceful state of mind, to feel serene. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Such a key point, and this is where we really can say, what are some examples of the things that I cannot change? What are some things that you can't change? I'd love to get some thoughts from you on that. And if you're listening later, begin writing some ideas down for yourself. What can't you change? I'm going to play it too. Can't change my family. Other thoughts? Anything outside of myself, people, traffic, events, etc. Someone said the past. All wonderful answers. Can't change others. We can't change what's happening. We can't change the past. What's been done has been done. We can change our present, which will change our future, but we can't change the past. That's a really good one. Thank you for bringing that up. The point is, and I actually like you, I invite you to be very specific. Don't do vague general comments. For me, I would say, I can't change Patrick, my partner. I can't change Kelly, who is my employee, who frustrates me. I can't change the whatever. I can't change the state of my bank account from what I did to it this very moment. There's lots of specific things that I can't change. I can't change that the neighbor next door, is loud at 11 o'clock at night. As specific as you can get in your world. The generalities are really good. Family, outside, people, events, past. But sometimes, what about the past that's haunting you? What specifically? Maybe there's a specific incident, or there's just a way that you were in the past. I can't change, the example, I can't change all the lies that I told people in the past. See, that takes me a level deeper into the richness of what I can't change. I can't change all of the money that I spent on acting out. I can't change, the time that I lost in doing that. So I'm just giving you ideas to help you think about it, and then get in your present moment. What can't you change about today? And think about, just the question is, what's driving you crazy? Again, be specific. Or who is driving you crazy? Put the name. You don't need to show them, of course not, but put the specific name on the list, because these are the people, places, and things that I can't change. And the insanity is when I forget this and I begin thinking I can. I begin obsessing about what's wrong with them. And I begin thinking, if they were different, then my life would be better. If the past were different, then this moment would be better. And those are all equations. I call them equations that don't add up to peace. No one's going to change for you. They'll change if they're meant to change. They won't if they won't. Hurricanes are going to come. The sun will rise or it won't. It's going to snow or it's not going to snow. You might get in a car accident one day. These things, they happen. Life happens. And I can't change life happening. And when I can accept that, which is the key, accept the things I cannot change, get related to them, accept it, be okay with how people are behaving, with what's not happening or what is happening, and with what's coming my way day by day. To really be clear on what that is very empowering. Again, this prayer gets me in here, gets me in here, gets me in here. And then the next line, change things I cannot change. The God grant me saying to accept things I cannot change. The
courage to change.
Courage, thank you. I was going to the wisdom. The courage, write the word courage. Interesting here. Now, the courage is to change the things I can, but let's pause on the word courage. So this prayer says to us that doing the inner work, doing the right thing is going to take something. It's not a free pass. It's not a magic carpet ride. Something has to rise up within me that has to become stronger. And courage, when it comes from my higher power, is that energy that suddenly I'm able to say something that I need to say, or I'm able to hold something about myself or do something from a higher place that is going to make my life better or be a contribution to other people. But I just love the fact that, oh, I need courage, which means I'm about to do something that isn't familiar. I don't need courage to walk my dogs. I don't need courage to do many things in my life. But when I want to change from the inside out, when I want to have a spiritual awakening within myself around my program, I'm going to need some courage. Some things are about to shift, and that deserves a pause. But here's the great part about the prayer. It's in there. We're asking for that courage that we need to change the things I can. So common answers to this, but let's play the game. What are the things you can change? My actions, my reactions, my thoughts.
My attitude, someone said.
My attitude, I'll add that one. Oh, you wrote that. Oh, he wrote that too, or she, her, she, excuse me. The other person wrote that. My thoughts, my attitude, my actions, me, and me. Look at the stark difference. What can I not change? Other. What can I change? Me. There's just so much wisdom in that. It's so simple, but it's complex in the application sometimes. But that's the beauty of spirituality. It's often so simple. But when the rubber meets the road, what does this prayer tell us we need? We need courage. We need courage to change. I need courage to change me, to pause, to breathe, to not react, to change my attitude, to, even though I'm feeling triggered, to say, maybe there's something else that's true here. Do I have the courage to really go within and feel the sometimes, for me, if I go within and the shame is triggered or the guilt is triggered, those kind of things, it's hard to stay in here. I want to pop out and blame someone else. When I get reaction or I feel angry, I want to, attack on some level. This is the change. This is the spiritual change. This is where our program leads us to. I must become different. I must become wiser. I must become calmer. I must become more thoughtful. These are good things. We're not losing in this game. We're not, it feels like, oh, why do I have to change? We don't lose. We don't lose. So be thoughtful about that and write down the things about yourself, the courage to change the things I can, which is me. And then it calls upon the wisdom, the knowledge, the higher thought. You have wisdom in you. It's inherent. We all have a natural knowing about, if we really get connected to ourselves, there's a wisdom that will say what is right for us, what is wrong for us, what we should do, what we should not do. Now, listening to that wisdom and following that wisdom is a practice. It's inside this prayer, and the wisdom to know the difference between what I can and I cannot change. Again, so simple, but really, really, when we take the time to think about it, it becomes a deeper prayer, it becomes a more thoughtful prayer. And my experience of it is that it becomes a more effective, a more effective prayer. So any thoughts about that? Feel free to write something in the chat if anything else came up for you or anything that struck you. Tammy, any thoughts come up for you on this one?
Like I told you last week, I love this prayer and it has saved me too. I've done it as the mantra, and I did the expanded version for me as the mantra with, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. And I'd be like, it's anything outside of me. I mean, like this would be my anything outside of me, or the specific thing that was, bugging me in the moment. The courage to change the things I can. That's just me and my reactions. I want to act instead of react. I'd be having this whole dialogue in my mantra, and the wisdom to know the difference. But like you said, as I would say this, the first few times I'd be resistant and I'd be just angry. And then I would find myself relaxing and going, yep, you have a choice in how I act. I don't have to automatically react. And I think one of the big blessings of being willing to change is, my gut was in turmoil all the time. And you're talking about mindfulness. And I was thinking it's so connected for me. It's like, I probably don't pay attention to the mindfulness stuff, but I pay attention to my gut. And if my gut is churning, I'm out of whack. And then I do the things I need to do to calm down again, and often it's a serenity prayer kind of thing going, what do I have control of here? Only how I'm handling this, not any of the situation or the person or whatever. So just taking the time to pause and reflect on that, and just going, because it's empowering, like you said, it does give me a modicum of control because I can control my actions on this. Somebody early on in my program said, I was justifiably angry, at, I don't even remember what it was, but just, and they said, you're allowing that person to live rent-free in your head. And that really set me off, because I was like, no, you don't understand. And then what I learned was, yes, I can shift that, and whatever they did, whether it was a true wrong or not, is irrelevant, but I am reacting all over the place to it, and I didn't want to live like that. So to me, this is a gift. Yes, I have to do the work to change, but I get the benefit of, not living in turmoil and not causing more chaos in my own life and everybody else's as well.
Yeah, beautifully said. Thank you. I really like hanging out with you, Tammy.
Likewise.
You got good stuff to add. You said an important word in the beginning. You said choice. And that is really one of the blessings, because when we are triggered and not centered, we lose our choice. Triggers are running us. Reactions are running us. Gut feelings are running us. But the prayer returns us to the wisdom. What's the difference? What can I change? What can I? Oh, suddenly there's two options here. And if there's two options, I'm at choice. And if I'm back to choice, I'm back to my power on some level, some experience of that. So that was beautiful. Really, really good sharing.
And I don't like being the victim of everybody else's stuff. Like I don't handle that well. I would rather be angry than hurt, because that's more of a control thing, so it's from the power position. So it's really important for me to find a place where I can have control of my actions and reactions. I don't want to just be, the pool ball bouncing from side to side. So
yeah, there's a personality typing kind of profiling, ancient, very, very wise thing called the Enneagram. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but they basically type people into, it's quite a broad thing, but either people are head people, heart people, or gut people. Oh, and you were immediately like, I just go to my gut. My gut tells me, so and you even said, and one of the feelings for the gut is anger. And you said, I don't get hurt, I get angry.
Yeah.
So you're a gut person. Your body feels it.
Yes.
And that's where you look. Yeah. That's where you look at it. I'm a head person.
Yeah.
So I'm thought. What do I think about that? What do I think about that? And my body can be having a whole reaction, but I don't relate to it the way she would. I'm like, well, what do I think? What do I think? What do I think? And my thoughts are where I find myself located. And And I find myself more like bantering and fighting and sort of like,
I
up
can do
here.
that too, but
Yeah, well, we all do. But then the heart person is the one who often, oh, that hurts. Or there's sort of our true, like real, like emotional kind of sadness or hurt or that kind of response. It's an interesting thing. And it might be an interesting to ask yourself, am I a head person, a heart person, or a gut person? Because even that, this is about know thyself. The more we can know ourselves, the more we can accept ourselves in the knowing of that, the better chance we have of making these different empowering choices. Any other thoughts from our participants tonight? Anyone want to share any ideas or questions about this topic? We'll just take a few moments if anyone would like to chat. Okay. Well, we're going to bring this to a close with another centering practice with the Serenity Prayer. I'm going to do it 3 times. I'm going to invite you, I'm going to do it a little bit slower. And I'm just going to invite you to really breathe it in. If you're at a place where you can say it out loud, that's wonderful, but you can just say it inside yourself. And then we'll sort of take a moment of silence after that, and then we'll close our time together. So I invite you to close your eyes if you can, and we'll begin by saying, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. All right. Well, I thank you for hanging out with me tonight, for joining. Always, Tammy, thank you for your support and the wisdom that you bring here. Here every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. Join me. We're going to just keep unpacking and exploring different elements of spirituality within the recovery program throughout the entire year, and really appreciate your participation. And always open to hear any thoughts or questions or things you may want to explore. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.